You're listening to the Ambition Incubator podcast, and I'm your host, Deirdre Morrison. My thing is helping people understand how our brains work so that we can be better and do better in any area of life that's important to us. So as well as bite-sized brain science, I'll be bringing you interviews and advice from experts and guests who specialise in working with entrepreneurs and leaders to help them explore potential, possibilities and ways to be more effective. And the best bit? We can start right now. The theme of today's show turned out to be Don't Fear the Future, Plan for It. And my guest is a pretty dynamic figure. Raquel Queral is on a mission, and she's out to disrupt things. The Green Landlady, as she's known, helps high net worth individuals who want to invest in property. And in the process, she takes care of people, profits, and most importantly, planet. In our conversation, we discuss everything from Raquel's first job in the UK, where she cleaned toilets at McDonald's, and how she progressed from there to discover a talent for raising investment. But above and beyond that, in the brief time we talked, Raquel gives a lot of insights into how people can significantly improve their heat retention at home, even in old homes, and why triple glazing is not a panacea, and also why good airflow is critical. All of this, of course, is really important from an environmental and health perspective, but these days, with fuel costs rocketing, simple hacks to reduce heating bills are perhaps more likely to motivate us. So, Raquel, thank you very much for coming in today, and let's have a chat. Now, I want to start with your humble beginnings, I guess, in the UK, when, from what I know, you arrived here with £1,000 and a ham and cheese sandwich. Is that true?
Oh, good morning, Deirdre. And thank you very much for having me, first of all. And yes, there's part of it which is correct. The other one is, I think you misinterpreted last time. But no, it is £1,000. Yes, absolutely. I arrived to this country with £1,000. And I didn't arrive with just one sandwich. I actually arrived with a luggage full of ham and cheese. So, right. Because I didn't know how long. I only had booked 3 nights in a hotel. So I didn't know how long I was going to be here for. And because I had such a little money, I didn't know whether I would like the food. So I thought to myself, listen, if I just bring the ham and cheese, all I have to buy is the bread. And then things will, my £1,000 will last for longer. So obviously that's why the reason behind. I didn't know whether I was going to like the food in the UK. I had no idea what to expect in the UK.
Well, I like your thinking. You can't go far wrong with a suitcase full of ham and cheese.
Exactly.
So, tell me then how you went from having £1,000 and a suitcase full of ham and cheese to raising £12 million in investment funding. How does that happen?
Well, it happens gradually. It's not overnight. And it does happen through determination and constant work. I mean, I started my journey in the UK cleaning toilets in McDonald's because I didn't think my English was good enough. I didn't think anyone was going to hire me, even though I came here to do my master's. I soon, when I went to the university to register, then I learned that I was a whole year late. I arrived the day that the master was starting, and I thought in my head that I had to come today in order to register. So it was a complete misunderstanding as to when I was supposed to be arriving. So when I arrived, I realized, oh my God, I can't do my master's. What am I going to do? And that's when I said, okay, then I need to improve my English. So I took the first job that anyone will just give me. And the easiest way for me was just to approach a McDonald's and say, hey, will you take me? And I was really fast. I was very, very fast. Obviously, McDonald's saw what was inside me. And very quickly, within a month, I was working behind the tills. I was working, counting the money in the back office. So it was something that it was very, very fast. It's that I don't claim to have been cleaning toilets in McDonald's for years because I didn't. It was a very, very quick process. But it also meant that I worked. I took whatever job it allowed me to improve my English in order to integrate myself. And then one led to another. A bartending job led to a office job. The office job led to business development, where I was just learning and I was raising finances for I was raising sponsorship money and for a company that did events. And then very soon I realized that I was actually very good at raising money. I was very good at actually asking people for money and giving them a good deals. So I developed my negotiation skills. And when the time came when the time was right. And then obviously I set up on my own, my property business. And then I realized that actually it gets in any property owner's journey, it gets to a point when you run out of money. And if you want to grow, you have to start looking for investment. And that's what I did. So I just thought I wasn't done with property. So I had to just find the money somewhere else. And then obviously, and that's what I did. So I started networking hugely. And then I just did very well. So every time I just asked for a little more and a little more. And I have this big thing about sustainability and big houses. And my big passion has always been developing these huge houses. So yeah, so I just needed a lot of money to develop them. I just couldn't just do that with little money.
Well, I think that's probably one of the things that maybe puts people off even thinking about property as part of their growth strategy, you know, because we've got a lot of people who are either working very hard in their 9-to-5s or they're working very hard on their own business and so on. But, you know, some of the most successful entrepreneurs that I know have very much opted to have a property pot somewhere in the mix. Why would you say that it's such a popular tactic for people who are very good at creating wealth?
Because there's nothing that creates more. I think in the past I've always been told that one of the pillars to actually create wealth is property, because property never goes down in price. You know, but it will go down in price, but eventually, if you look at historical reasons, it's always on the increase. You never, you know, a property that someone bought 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago, it's never going to go down in value. It's always going to go up. So it's just a question of he always beats time. So, and that's one of the strongest ways of actually creating wealth. Now, once you have a property portfolio, you want to diversify, and that's why people start with property, or will have property, or will start something else, and then just always grow a property portfolio on the side. And then that will just give them a very strong, solid base for them to just keep on expanding and growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess that if somebody was putting their money into an ISA or something, or, you know, they feel like they need to play it safe, because we've had a lot of instances where property prices have bubbled and crashed, and there is definitely a mindset of, well, we don't know. It's an uncertainty. Is that your experience? Obviously not. You've just said that prices keep growing, but how do you insulate yourself from those ups and downs, as it were, of the property market?
You do risk absolutely everything, every single investment that you or every single decision on the investment that you take. And that's how you protect yourself. You cannot protect yourself 100%, but by diversifying on the kind of properties that you might have in your portfolio, but also by just de-risking absolutely every single decision that you take about it, then it's no longer a gambling. I mean, it's never been a gambling thing for me. I go super slow because I go super securely. And people say to me, oh, but you've been in the property for over 10 years, 10, 15 years. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't start the business straight away. I started like an accidental landlord, and then just bought one property and then bought another one, made mistakes on the way. I mean, I made mistakes like anyone else. But the problem, and that's how you learn. Once you trained yourself, and then you realize, actually, this is where you've learned from those mistakes, because that's exactly where I go wrong. You don't repeat them. And as long as you learn from those mistakes, then you become more and more secure in the decisions that you are taking. It is scary because a couple of weeks ago, one of the big players in my industry just collapsed and filed for bankruptcy. And that was quite scary because they had a lot of money, a lot of investors, a lot of small investors investing £25,000 on them. But the problem is that they took far too many risks. And obviously they just could not sustain the kind of debt that they were having on top of them. And I make sure that that's not the case for me. And that's one of the reasons I don't work with just £25,000 investors, because that means I have to take a lot of them, while I just work one investor for one house, and then I keep them totally separately. So then I
Mm-hmm.
reduce the risk that I have with a
Mm.
particular investor, because I just keep him separately. Each of them is an individual a line of building, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So rather than just kind of bringing in lots of different amounts and putting them into one pot like some big fund, you're actually almost consulting for an individual on an individual property. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah. So I
Okay.
use one individual's money just to create a line of properties or develop a line of
Mm.
3 or 4 properties in Birmingham or something like that, or
Right.
here
Okay.
in my area. So yeah.
So it's like a done for you property portfolio. You've got somebody who knows what's happening, who knows what's going on. And they're actually, you're there as the guide, you're there as the steering for this.
Yeah, absolutely. But remember that I not only build portfolios for other people, but they lend me the money, and they'll just get a fixed return on that money. So
Mm.
when I say I do 3 or 4 properties, it doesn't mean that I build them for the particular person. It just means that I get to do 3 or 4 projects with the same amount of money. But because it's a specific amount of money, then that will allow me to buy a house or develop a house in an area as opposite to another. So, for
Mm.
instance, just for argument's sake, I can develop a house in Birmingham for £150,000, but I would not be able to do that in London. So,
Yes.
in order for me to develop a house in London, I need an investor who gives me £500,000 plus.
Hmm.
Does that
Hmm.
make sense? So, it depends on the
Yeah.
amount of income that we are looking for, and whatever is on the strategy, then we look for those kind of investors. And then if someone comes along and then suddenly says, actually, I'll give you £1,000,000, then it's up to me to decide, okay, what is the next step on the portfolio, what is exactly that we are looking for. And that's what we're focusing in.
Okay. So are your clients then typically people who have an interest in environmental issues? Because I'm coming around now to the brand that you have, which is the Green Landlady, and I'm intrigued by your interest in this and how your clients see it.
Okay, so yes, technically, a lot of people that will work with me is because they want to do something to help the planet. They want to do something that they feel they're helping out with. So my traditional client will be someone. It could be a pensioner, so it could be someone who is retired and has a pot of fund, or simply someone who's got just money on their home and they just didn't know what to do, and they want to use the steady income that I give them. They want to use them as a pension pot. Um, as much as someone who is extremely busy, they have a very high end job. They CEOs, directors, they have their own companies. They want to do something. They want to invest their money, but they just don't have the time. They don't have the time. They don't have the knowledge, and therefore they just want to delegate that to someone else. And again, they have sustainability within their agenda. So the people that has come to me and didn't have sustainability on the agenda, after working with me, they've ended up with a sustainability on the agenda. So it's a really lovely thing to see that people actually adapt and understand a bit more. And when I explain to them, the kind of things that we are doing, it's lovely to see the faces lit up, and then just realizing, oh, actually, so we're going to be helping the planet as much as just making money. And he was like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're doing 3 things. You're looking after people, you're looking after the planet, but you're also looking after yourself, because we are
Mhm.
creating profits and benefits for you.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, that's like the ultimate sweet spot, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Can you give us an idea what sort of things you're doing to create sustainability in housing?
Well, I do 3 different things mainly. One of them is I will take an old period building and then I will refurbish it. And then the way I refurbish them, then because I go back to brick as much as possible, then what will happen is that because we take things right to the beginning, then we upgrading insulation, we upgrade energy efficiency, we upgrade windows, we change LED spots, we look at introducing if we can have uh, air source heat pumps or electric boilers, then we would prefer those to normal boilers. It all depends on what the house is for, because there's a thing that you say that's fit for purpose. So I
Mm.
don't develop a house that is just going to be way over whatever the purpose of that house it is. So that's the first time. And then on the second line is when we build from scratch. So we will just take a commercial building and then we'll divide it into flats, or we'll build from ground up. And obviously when you build from ground up, then it's a lot easier, because then architects get involved, and then we get sustainability is at the core of that design. So then it will just be insulated, much better insulated. It will be just airtight, a lot airtight. Then it will have better energy efficiency boilers, or if not boilers, as I said, source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, or ground source heat pumps, or whatever is needed on there. We look at where the biggest losses of heat can actually take place from, and then we address those. So whether that is just a conversion from a big house or a commercial unit into flats, or whether it's from rise up.
So can I ask you then, just, for the average listener who is living in a house or apartment or whatever, what are the sustainability sins that we're committing without knowing? Is there something that we should all change?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, have you got all your lights, are they all LEDs? And this is something that is very interesting. Not all of them. Some people still have fluorescent lights in big kitchens. And it's very interesting. You can change that straight away on the right strips. Have you got changed to smart meter?
I'm not sure about the smart meter, but I don't have any fluorescents. I've got a lot of these, the new style ones. I'm not sure if they're LED or what they are, but they look like light bulbs, but they've got...
They should be LEDs.
They're probably LEDs.
They should be, yeah, especially because you can't buy all fluorescent bulbs anymore. So it's only for old people who haven't changed the house in 30, 40 years that they still want to have them, because they think that it's just more economical to leave the lights on for the rest of the day as opposed to just switch them on and switch them off. There's loads of little things that you do. If you live in a period property, for instance, you can just put reflectors behind the radiators. They cost absolutely nothing, and then we'll actually reflect the heat back into the rooms, as opposed to just going just
soaking
basically the heat spreading out. Yeah, then
that's a great tip.
Then you can insulate the walls, and if you put, for instance, if you're one of those persons that lives in a preview property and then just love wallpaper, well, do you know that if you just put an insulation of 10 millimeters, 10 millimeters insulation, you plasterboard it, and then you just put wallpaper on top of it. So the 10 millimeters insulation is with a special plasterboard, and which then you seal off, and obviously you just put the wallpaper on top of it, and that will reduce heat loss by masses. It's like 70% or something like that. So there is the ideal scenario is where absolutely every single person of us just hires a heat loss engineer, and they come to you, they do a report. Some of my guys do this. They come, we send a heat loss engineer to a house. He spends 6-7 hours studying the whole building and then just analyzing absolutely where is all the heat is coming out from. And then obviously we tackle those areas. So again, people say, oh, double glazing, triple glazing, absolutely everything. Okay, but you know that triple glazing was amazing if you do it on the north facing side of your house. But this doesn't really get any more benefits from a double glazing at the back if it's a south-facing wall. So it's very interesting. So obviously retrofitting all of these little bits and bobs are a lot easier. Well, they're a lot harder in a way than actually just building them from scratch, because architects have sustainability at the core of every single design brief these days. Then obviously they put the house in the best orientation. They take airflow into account. They take loads of little details that neither you or me, when we buy a house, we're going to be looking, well, I might think about it, but a normal person might not think about it. Oh, what's the airflow in the house? The what? Sorry? Well, how is your house ventilated? Sorry? Well, I don't know. Never. Just when I open the door.
But this is it, isn't it? Because we go in and we make emotional decisions about the house that we want to live in, how we feel about it, how we feel in the space. So yeah, it seems like we're still trying to catch up with that, and at the moment it seems like that's an option. People can either live with an inefficient house that they have that has already existed for maybe 100 years, or they can look at something, creating something new. But it
But Deirdre, can
seems.
I just stop you there 1 second?
Mm,
Because I was just going to say, but what people doesn't realize is that something as simple as airflow within a
mhm,
house, yeah, is responsible for how tired you are, whether you are efficient or not, whether you have more concentration and are more efficient within on your work. They can help you sleep better. It can
mm,
help you with headaches and removes of them. It makes you happier in your environment. So there's a lot of benefits, a huge amount of benefits, which obviously there. It's only now that people are starting to realize all of these benefits that have. I mean, when you buy your house, you never think, oh, can I just air the house completely, from front to back? Does he? Even when it still shocks me when people says to me, I ask them, how often do you air your house? And they'll say, well, in summer it's always open. And I said, yeah, but what about in winter? And they'll say, well, never, because the heating is on. I was like,
mm,
it still shocks me, because it's like, so how do you refresh the air in those rooms?
mm,
A simple 10 minutes open, or leaving the fans in the toilet for a little bit longer, or
mhm.
leaving the extractor fans in the kitchen for longer periods of time. All of that just helps with ventilation. And it's very interesting that people think that they're going to pay a lot more money for 10 minutes, while the benefits are greater than actually spending. So, sorry, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that we touch on that, because I think a lot of people actually miss that. And as the economy grows and we have more disposable income, then we tend to look at how we can benefit our own health.
Mhm.
And benefiting our own health doesn't have to cost us money in this world. It can be as opening as just open the window for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
As simple as that will make a massive difference.
No, that really is amazing, Raquel, because I think that, it's like we forget the simplest things. We forget sometimes that, it doesn't have to be a technological revolution, and that a lot of the, just as you say, the things that don't cost anything can make such a difference.
Massive.
So, Raquel, just as we start to wrap up here, obviously you have got this enormous amount of advice and information, and ways that people can either improve their prospects for investing, or just their their regular homes. So, is it? You mentioned that you were going to be running a program at some point soon. What is the best way for people to find you and find out more about what you do?
Well, I tend to be most on Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, Raquel Queral, the Green Landlady, that would be amazing. Then I also hang out on LinkedIn and then on Facebook. So you can just contact me there. Then
Hmm.
yes, if you are interested on the program, if you think that this is something that is of interest, then I will say to people, please contact me on my mobile for a 30 minutes, no fee, completely free consultation. I'll see whether I can help you or not, and whether we are suited to be working together. And if I can help you out, then obviously they'll be very interested. And
Hmm.
yes, the course is actually coming up. Hopefully it should be out on the market on the 1st of June.
Hmm.
2022. So we are now just we are still working really hard, just trying to pack it up with as many tips as possible that everybody just can just take, and then actually just go around the house saying, okay, have I done this? Yes. It's kind of like a checklist, yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
where they can just go through, and then just, yeah, they go, the tips just go, as I said, from very little money and absolutely no
Hmm.
money, like open the windows, to actually just invest in um, tens of thousands of pounds on a great ground source heat pump, if your house is the right type of house to have a
Hmm.
ground source heat
Hmm.
pump. But
Yeah.
yes, it'll hopefully be very exciting, and people can learn a lot about it and can share my passion for actually just improving the environment and improving and breaking the barrier. I'm on a mission, Deidre. I'm on a mission on actually just interrupting the market, and then just leading the way on the private rented accommodation sector to actually improvement of the houses. We have a deadline to meet with the government, but also we have a deadline with ourselves. There is no planet B. So we need to act now.
We do. And of course, I mean, we're seeing the cost of fuel rising and rising every day almost at this stage. So if for no other reason, if your reasons are not about preservation of the planet, everybody, I think at this point, has a concern for how they're going to just even be able to sustain their current fuel use. So being able to find ways to reduce that and to just get a nail on where we're actually we're burning money effectively.
It is. You are literally burning money at the moment, and nothing has put more at risk like Russia's and Ukraine situation. This has highlighted to everyone how much the UK in this case, we don't depend as much as the rest of Europe does on these gas pipes. But it just makes you realize that, whatever you can do to be self-sustainable is just a step ahead of everyone else. And you don't want to be scared of the future. You want to plan for it. So starting now, even though at the moment there's nothing forcing you to do it as a landlord, there's nothing forcing you to do it as an investor. Let's just start now and not rush to a deadline that is certain that it's going to come in the future. Yeah. So, let's just do it little by little. Let's put it into your budgets as a landlord. Let's do maintenance improvements as opposite to, rush last minute improvements just to get to whatever EPC levels we need to.
Yeah. Take the initiative and do the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Just do it now. Don't fear the future. Plan for it. Wonderful. Look after the people. Look after your people, your planet, and your profits will come down.
Raquel, that is outstanding advice. I think just in general life terms, as well as in terms of property and investing and so on as well. So I would like to say a big thank you for doing this. We'll put all the details in the show notes as always. Raquel, thank you so much, and I'll see you at the other side.
Thank you.
You're still here? Great. Look, I know there's a lot to choose from out there, so thanks for flying with Ambition Incubator Airlines. And I look forward to seeing you on board again soon. Seriously though, thank you for tuning in. My guests and I love hearing about what inspires you on the show and what advice has made a difference in your life or work and what you'd like more of. So get in touch. If you want to know about my other work, head over to ambitionincubator.com for details. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more great interviews, advice and bite-sized brain science every week.